In this video, I'm going to be showing you 35 steps that will instantly make your cold email campaigns more profitable. Now, I run a cold email agency that sends around 500,000 emails every single month. And at the time of recording, we've generated over 1.5 million in client revenue just from cold email. Now, after launching hundreds of campaigns, I've broken down our entire process into 35 really quick and practical steps that you can copy and literally implement into your campaigns right after watching this video. So the first step is only buy .com domains from reputable registrars like GoDaddy. So if you're using cold email or if you're thinking about using it, the first thing you need to know is that you never want to send cold emails from your primary business domain. And that means that you're going to need to go ahead and buy several new domains just for cold email purposes. And the reason why we do this is because if you encounter any problems with those domains, or if they get blacklisted for whatever reason, then you don't want to be having issues with your main business domain that you're likely hosting your website on, for example. So you need to go ahead and buy new domains just for cold email. Now, how many domains you need to buy, that's just going to be completely dependent on how many emails you want to be sending out. And we'll get into that later on in this video. But if you want to be sending 50,000 emails a month or 30,000 emails a month, then you're going to need to buy a lot more than just one domain, because the whole point of cold email is to mimic and to replicate normal human sending patterns. And no normal human sends even like over 10, 15, 20 emails a day. So if you want to send 100 emails a day, 200 emails a day, 10,000 emails a day, you need to buy a lot of domains and set up a lot of email accounts. And when you do buy those domains, you need to buy them from a reputable registrar like GoDaddy, like Porkbun, or if you have any other reliable registrar in mind, obviously go ahead and use that. But if you want my advice, I would just say buy them from GoDaddy. We purchase hundreds of domains from them every single month for our clients, never had any issues. So I would just recommend going with that. And then only buy .com domains, not specifically because it leads to better deliverability, but it's also a credibility factor. So if you receive, as a prospect, if you receive an email from someone and the domain is something sketchy like .net, .info, .biz, or just something else that doesn't look like a legit business, you're just more likely, one, not to respond, and two, to report it as spam. And then obviously as the sender, your deliverability is just going to get more and more damaged in the long run. So buy your domains from a reputable registrar and only buy .com domains. The second step is to split your inboxes 50% with Google and 50% with Outlook. So once you purchase those domains, you're then going to need to obviously set up email accounts to send cold emails from. And the general rule of thumb here is to just set up 2 email accounts for every domain you purchase. So if you purchase 10 domains, you can set up 20 email accounts. If you purchase 100 domains, you can set up 200 email accounts. And my recommendation here is to split your inboxes 50% with Google, 50% with Outlook. So if you're going to set up 100 email accounts, set up 50 with Google, 50 with Outlook. Now, another strategy here is to go 33% Google, 33% Outlook, and 33% with some sort of SMTP server. But I would just recommend keeping things simple and just go 50% Google, 50% Outlook. And the reason why we do this is because if any of the two inbox providers is delivering worse at any point in time, you don't want to have all your eggs in the same basket. So you just want to diversify like you do with your investments and just make sure that if any of the two is delivering worse at any point in time, you have backup inboxes with another inbox provider that are still delivering well. So split your inboxes, 50% Google, 50% Outlook. Now, step 3 is use inbox resellers instead of going directly to Google or Outlook. Okay, so when you start setting up those email accounts, obviously the first thing you need to do is you need to go ahead and buy the domains. But then once you buy the domains, you have 2 options. You can either go to Google directly or go to Outlook directly and set up the email accounts manually, which takes a long time. It's more expensive. It costs around $6, $7 per inbox. Or your other option is to use an inbox reseller. So these are just companies that will basically set up the email accounts for you. They're going to warm up the email accounts for you. It's a lot faster. They often deliver within like 24 hours and it's half the price. So for Google, I would recommend going with premiuminboxes.com. We've had good deliverability. They set up the inboxes within like 6 to 8 hours and it costs $3.50 per inbox, which is half the price of going directly through Google. And then for Outlook, you have 2 options here. You can either go for scaled mail or inboxlogy.com. Both of them really good. Try them both, see what works best. But once again, a lot cheaper, like $3.50 per inbox, which is once again half the price of going directly through Outlook. And then they set up the email accounts for you. They also import the email accounts into your sequencer and start the warm-up process. So always use inbox resellers. It's faster and it's cheaper. Now, step 4, warm up your inboxes for 14 days. So as I said, the inbox resellers are going to upload, they're going to import basically those email accounts into your sequencer, and they're going to start a warm-up process. I'm not going to get into too much detail as to what the warm-up process is. It's just a process that needs to occur for around 14 to 21 days where your email accounts are just warming up before you start sending cold emails, okay? So once you purchase fresh domains and you set up fresh email accounts, you don't want to start sending from those email accounts until 14 to 21 days have passed. okay? And your sequencer, let's say you're using Smart Lead, will start sending warm-up emails, and it's also going to start responding to those emails to essentially just warm up those email accounts. So the simplest way I can put it, it's just like you're building your credit score so that when you do ask for a loan from the bank, you actually get the loan. Now, step 5 is you want to send 1.1x to 1.3x more warm-up emails than cold emails. So if you're sending 10 cold emails a day per inbox, then you just want to be sending 11 to 13 warm-up emails per day per inbox. We've tried a bunch of different settings, and we've seen that this has just led to the best deliverability in the long run. Now, step 6 is don't send more than 10 to 15 emails per day per inbox. So the key here is just to ramp up as you go. So when you start sending cold emails from a fresh email account, start off by sending 5 to 7 emails a day. When a week goes by and you started to get responses and so on, then you can ramp that up to around 10 emails a day. And then when a week goes by, or when 2 weeks go by, then you can ramp that up to around 15 emails a day. Always stick to the thing that I mentioned previously, which is however many cold emails you're sending, send 1.1x to 1.3x warm-up emails. So as you're increasing the number of cold emails you're sending, increase the number of warm-ups you're sending as well, just to maintain that ratio. And then generally speaking, just don't go more than around 15 emails per day. Step number 7 is rotate your inboxes every 2 weeks. It could even be 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It doesn't even need to be on a weekly period. It could even be on a per campaign period. So you could do one campaign with a certain batch of inboxes, and you could do another campaign with another batch of inboxes. But the point here is that if you want to be sending 1,000 emails a week, set up a certain number of inboxes that allow you to send up to 2,000 emails a week. And the point here is that 50% of your inboxes are constantly going to be warming up, so that if you encounter any problems with any of your inboxes, you have a backup of another 50% of your inboxes that are warming up, and you can replace any inboxes that are not working. Now, the reason why this is so important is because at some point, your inboxes will most likely encounter some sort of a deliverability problem, and they're going to burn out. So in that case, you don't want to have to waste time buying new domains, warming them up for 14 days. You want to already have in your Smart Lead account, your Instantly account, and your sequencer, you want to have another batch of inboxes that have already been warming up for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, which you can just replace instantly. And then once you do that, you can just go ahead and burn the inboxes that have deliverability problems, and then just go and purchase new email accounts that are now going to be warming up in the background. Step number 8 is segment your campaigns by industry, location, job title, or any other criteria. But the point here is just segment your campaigns based on common characteristics that your prospects share. And the reason why we do this is because that means you can make your scripts more relevant. So even if your ICP is marketing agencies, or even if your ICP is accounting firms, segment those accounting firms based on their location, because it's more likely that the accounting firms or the marketing agencies that are based in London share more common characteristics than the ones that are based in the US or just somewhere else in Europe. So that means that in your scripts, you can actually call out the fact that they're based in London. And if you're also based in London, then that also gives you an extra edge when you're reaching out to these prospects, and it gives you a competitive advantage against everyone else who's also reaching out to those people. But it doesn't only need to be based on location. It could even be based on specialization. So even if your general niche is marketing, and within marketing, you have Google Ads agencies, Meta Ads agencies, you have email marketing agencies, and you can once again segment your campaigns based on the specific services that your prospects offer. Because once again, when you're writing your scripts, it makes a big difference to say, hey, we work with accounting firms, as opposed to saying, hey, we work with Google Ads agencies that are based in London. So when you do segment, it just means that you can make your scripts more relevant, and you're just going to get more replies, more meetings booked, and you're just going to make more money. Step number 9 is use scraping tools to get contact information from databases. So if you're building a lead list using Apollo, rather than paying the full Apollo subscription, which could cost you $30, $40, $50 a month, use a scraper like Apify. Specifically, it's apify.com, where there's different Apollo scrapers that would allow you to get that same data for a lot cheaper. So rather than paying $50 a month, you can literally pay like $1 for every 1,000 leads that you get. Now, at the time of recording this video, the Apify scraper is down, it's not working, and we've been using another scraper called ampleleads.com, which is also around $2, $3 for every 1,000 leads that we're scraping. So this way, it's exactly the same thing. You're still building your lead list in Apollo, but now you're just copying the URL, you're pasting it into the scraping tool, and scraping those leads for a lot cheaper, and you're going to save a ton of money. Now, step number 10, always verify your lead list. So once you actually export those lead lists from Apollo using your scraping tools, you then want to verify them to make sure that you're only reaching out to the good emails. You could always reach out to the catch-alls if you validate them, but I would just stay on the safe side of things and just make sure you only email the good emails. Step number 10, clean and normalize your data. So this is a super important step that I would say 99% of people that I know that use cold email probably skip this step. So most people just go up to the verification process, and then once they verify their lead list, they just import it into their sequencer and they start launching campaigns. Now, the problem here is that a lot of the times there's still data inaccuracies. So even if you know that all your contact details are verified and the email addresses are up to date, for example, it still doesn't mean that the data is accurate. So even if you built a lead list of accounting firms or marketing agencies, there is still a possibility that there's going to be some sort of other company or prospect in that list that was not meant to be there purely because of an inaccuracy in the database that you built the lead list from, for example, Apollo. So if you don't go ahead and manually clean your data, or if you use a tool like Clay, and Clay can clean the data for you and it can normalize the data, and I'll get into what normalizing means. When it comes to cleaning the data, whether you're doing that manually, whether you're using a VA, whether you're using Clay, just make sure that you clean your data to make sure that if you think you're reaching out to marketing agencies, you're actually reaching out to marketing agencies and not someone else. Because if you call out marketing agencies in your scripts, but it's actually an accounting firm, they're going to report you as spam. Now, when it comes to normalizing your data, we're just talking about, for example, company names. So a lot of the times when you export your lead list from Apollo and you have a column with the company names, the way that those company names are formatted just sound a bit robotic, and you don't want to write a cold email script including that company name. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you have Apple, then it could just be Apple Inc. or it could be Apple Limited. And what you want to do is you want to normalize that data to remove all those extra words at the end of the company name. Because if you're reaching out to someone and you say, hey, I noticed you're the head of marketing at Apple Limited or Apple Inc., then obviously it just doesn't sound that good, doesn't sound professional. And prospects can usually tell that it's some sort of automated email sequence because any normal person would just say Apple, Google, or anything else. So when I receive cold emails and people say Sparklead Limited, for example, instead of Sparklead, then I can usually tell that they haven't actually cleaned their data. And this is super important. Now, step number 12, don't include any links in your emails. So I don't care whether we're talking about an unsubscribe link, whether we're talking about your website link, whether it's some sort of other link to a lead magnet that you want to share or some sort of PDF that you want to share. Don't include any links in your initial emails. So what you can do, though, is you can say that you want to share some sort of lead magnet with your prospects. And if you get permission, so if the prospect responds to your initial email saying, yes, send it over, show me your website, show me your case studies, show me the Loom video, then you can go ahead and send the link. But you don't want to send any links in your initial emails. Step number 13 is add a PS disclaimer instead of an unsubscribe link. So this goes hand in hand with step number 12, where right at the bottom of your email, you don't want to have an unsubscribe link. You do want to have an opt-out to be compliant, but you don't need to have an unsubscribe link. Because as I said, the link, you don't want any links. They damage your deliverability. They insert a small pixel into your emails. And there's just, once again, it's just more likely to cause some sort of a deliverability problem. So instead, once you finish with the body of your email, right at the bottom, you just want to add a small PS disclaimer saying, PS, please reply with no thanks and I won't send you any more emails. Or PS, just let me know and I won't send you any more emails. The reason why this is so powerful is because now, instead of people who are not interested, instead of them being able to just click on the unsubscribe link, you're now encouraging people who are not interested to also respond to your emails. And what that does is that it signals that you're getting responses. So it signals that there's more activity with that email account and there's just less of a chance that you're going to have deliverability problems in the long run. So you're improving your domain reputation and you're also just basically getting more replies. So that's why I would say add a PS disclaimer instead of an unsubscribe link. Now, step number 14, don't track open rates, don't track click-through rates. When you track these two things, they insert a small pixel into your emails, and that just means that it's not going to be plain text. It's going to cause deliverability problems. Plus, on top of that, you shouldn't be tracking click-through rates anyway because you shouldn't have any links in your emails, and that's what the click-through rate is for. And then when it comes to open rate, it's a bit of a useless metric because you don't need to know the open rates of your emails. It's far more important to know your reply rate, your positive reply rate, your meetings booked rate. These are more important metrics that you should be tracking. So switch off open rates, switch off click-through rates. Step number 15, use a 3-step email sequence. We've tried a 1-step email sequence. We've tried a 2-step email sequence. We've also tried a 5-step email sequence. And we found that the sweet spot is a 3-step email sequence. And the reason for that is because when we were using a 5-step email sequence, when you send 4 or even 5 emails to a prospect and the prospect is not interested, you start to become a bit annoying. And they're just far more likely to report emails 4 and 5 to spam rather than emails 1, 2, and 3. Because with emails 1, 2, and 3, if you space them out correctly, you're not annoying when you're reaching out to a prospect. But then on the other hand, if you use an email sequence that's too short, then you're not giving yourself enough of a chance to convert those prospects. Because genuinely, you might reach out to a prospect and they might just not see your email. They might be busy. They might need some sort of second follow-up. So just make sure that you use a 3-step email sequence. You're going to be covered in terms of people reporting you as spam. Like 3 emails is not annoying, but at the same time, 3 emails is enough of a sequence to convert prospects who don't see your first email, or even your second email. So that's the sweet spot. Use a 3-step email sequence. It's going to maximize your conversions. Step number 16 is keep your scripts up to 60, 70 words long. This is just a general rule of thumb. If there's a specific reason why your script needs to be 80 words or 90 words, it's not the end of the world. But a general rule of thumb is that you don't want to be sending over a big chunk of text or a big essay, because if your prospect can't understand and can't read your email within like 3 to 5 seconds, you're going to lose them. Now, with that being said, you can also always test a script that is only 20 words or 30 words or even 40 words. It doesn't need to be exactly 60 or 70. Some of our best performing scripts were literally one line, some sort of a hypothetical question that just says, hey, first name, if we could get you XYZ result in a given time frame without some sort of a pain point that they're already experiencing, would that be worth exploring? And these scripts were oftentimes 20, 30 words, but we would get the replies. So once again, just keep your scripts maximum 60, 70 words long. That's a general rule of thumb. That's going to lead to the most amount of responses. Step number 17, don't use a salesy subject line. There's a big misconception here that you need to sell your service or you need to pitch through your subject line. So if your prospect can tell from the subject line that this is going to be a cold email and that you're pitching something, they're most likely not going to open the email and they're just going to delete it. The only point and the only purpose of a subject line is to get the prospect to open the email. You don't need to mention anything about your offer, anything about your service, anything about your prospect's pain points. The only thing you need to do is generate enough curiosity to make the prospect open the email. And I'll just shoot out a couple of subject lines that we've been using. One really good one is thoughts first name. Super simple, looks like an internal email. If you receive an email from a colleague, it's very likely that they might just say thoughts first name, like thoughts Alex. It could just be idea for company name. It could be your first name, the prospect's first name, and then just intro. Just something super simple, super short, super easy, not salesy. Don't include any offers, free strategy for XYZ company or free campaigns or just free anything or just anything that sounds like a pitch is coming, okay? So that's going to increase the chances of a prospect opening your email. Step number 18 is maintain a 2-to-1 U to I ratio in your scripts. So the reason why we do this is because we want to make sure that our scripts are always focusing on the prospect. Do not focus on yourself. Don't focus on why you're so amazing, why your company is so good, or your credibility and how many years you've been doing this and how many years you've been in business. The point is here, I can help you achieve XYZ result. It's about the prospect, how it benefits the prospect, about the prospect's company, about their pain points. And you just need to make sure that you're only talking about how you can help the prospect. So just make sure that for every time you say the word I or you say the word we, you say the word you twice. And that's going to give you a good ratio where you're most likely going to be talking about the prospect more than you're talking about yourself. Step number 19 is personalize your opener. So this is just an easy way to achieve relevance because relevance is more important than personalization. Personalization is a bit overrated because you can personalize, but you can personalize with something completely useless. So the whole point is to achieve relevance. And when you personalize your opener, like if we think about it, what is the main aim of an opener? The main aim of the opener, and the opener, for those of you that don't know, it's just the first line of your email that also shows in your inbox. So if you actually log into your inbox, for example, in your Gmail inbox, you'll see that you can see the subject line, but then you can also see a couple of words like a preview from the actual email script. And that is the opener. So if you mention something that is specific to your prospect and you personalize that opener, it's just more likely that your prospects are going to open the email. So if I open up my inbox and I see a subject line that says thoughts, Alex, and then I see a preview of a couple of words that says, I noticed that you posted XYZ video on YouTube, it just shows to me that the person did their research and they're calling out a specific YouTube video. So that means that I know that the email is going to be relevant to me. So the main takeaway here is that if you are going to add any sort of personalization into your scripts, the best place to add that personalization is in the opener, so in the first line of your cold email. Now, step number 20 is talk about outcomes, don't talk about features, okay? So no one cares about the features of your product. No one cares about the features of your services, how exactly you deliver results, what your unique process is, how you go about launching Google ads or Meta ads or anything. What people care about is outcomes. So people most likely don't care how you're going to get a certain result for them. And they might just want to know what sort of mechanism you're using, but you don't need to dive deep into the actual process. Because at the end of the day, if we're just talking about cold email services, what people care about is acquiring more clients. They care about generating more leads, about booking more demos. At the end of the day, a business owner doesn't really care whether you're going to do that through cold email, through LinkedIn, through YouTube. So just make sure that when you're writing your cold email scripts, always talk about outcomes. And usually there's 3 main outcomes that business owners care about. And that's going to be an increase in revenue or profit, a decrease in costs, or saving time. If you can tie your product's features to one of these 3 outcomes, then once again, you're going to significantly increase your chances of getting a response because you're now tying it to an outcome that business owners actually care about. Step number 21 is personalize your pitch. So when the time comes for you to actually pitch, don't just say we help companies achieve XYZ results. Say we can help you achieve XYZ result. And it should be quite clear as to why the prospect is a good fit for your specific product or service. So just make sure that when you actually pitch in your cold email scripts, it becomes personalized and the prospect understands that there's something that makes that prospect a good fit for what you offer, and that you're not just sending this to 10,000 people in a generic email sequence. Now, step number 22 is include a quantifiable end result, a time frame, and a guarantee in your offer. Okay, so in your cold email scripts, you're going to have an offer. You're going to be pitching something. Now, when you pitch something, and you're obviously talking about some sort of an outcome. Okay, so once again, if we go back to the previous point, you're going to be talking about decreasing costs, increasing revenue. You're going to be talking about saving time. If you can tell them how much time they're going to save, how much more money they're going to make, how much costs are they going to save, and then in how long? So how long does it actually take for you to deliver these results? And then what happens if you don't deliver those results? If you can answer all those questions in your cold email script, you're going to significantly improve your chances of getting a response because your offer is going to be so much more appealing. So let me give you an example of a good offer. So we can increase your revenue by 20% in the next 30 days. And if we don't do that, you get a full refund. And let's compare that to a generic offer. So a generic offer would just say, we offer email marketing services and we can increase your revenue. And the most natural and the most logical thing that your prospect is going to be thinking if they see something that just says we can increase your revenue, the first questions that come into their head is, by how much can you increase my revenue? In how long can you increase my revenue by that amount? And what happens if you don't increase my revenue by that amount? So if you're claiming that you can increase my revenue, and let's just say you can increase it by 20%, am I going to wait 6 months? Am I going to wait 3 months? Am I going to wait 30 days? Or 2 years for you to increase my revenue by 20%. So if you can attach some sort of a time frame there, and then if you can also attach a guarantee in there. So what happens if you increase my revenue by 16% or by 12% or by 8%? What happens if I pay you and I don't get any results? Well, in that case, you need a risk reversal. And that could either be a full refund. It could be that we're going to work with you for free until we actually achieve those results. Or it could just be a performance-based arrangement where they're only paying you for the actual increase in revenue or for cash collected or for the amount of sales appointments that you book for them. So if you can include these 3 components in your offer, it's going to be so much more appealing, and it's also going to get you a lot more responses. Now, step number 23 is use case studies. So if you actually have case studies and if you have results that you've helped your clients achieve, then you would be stupid not to feature those case studies in your cold email script. And then here, if you have a relevant case study, that would be even better. So if you have a case study working with a B2B SaaS company, and then you're reaching out to new B2B SaaS companies, then always mention that the company we helped is a company that is exactly like yours. Or if you work with marketing agencies and you're now trying to look for more marketing agencies to work with, then always mention that we recently helped a marketing agency that is exactly like yours. They offer the same services as you, they do everything like you, and we help them generate XYZ result. So always, always, always leverage your case studies. And if you have relevant case studies, that would be even better. Step number 24 is give away a free lead magnet. So this is basically just free value. And the whole purpose of giving away a free lead magnet is just to give people a bit of a glimpse of what it would look like to actually work with you full time. So for example, if you design websites, then you could just redesign a certain section of a prospect's website and just say that, you know what, I would be happy to redesign this part of your website for you for free. Can I send it over for you? Can I send you over the revamped version so you can just see what it looks like? And then obviously, if the prospect sees that revamped version and they like it, they're just more likely to pay you. For example, if you're a YouTube agency and you help creators upload YouTube videos, and you could always write a free YouTube script for a prospect, or you could help them with their SEO, you could generate a free thumbnail, just offer some sort of free work to show that you actually know what you're doing. Or if you're a cold email agency, you could offer a free script, you could give away a free lead list, a free strategy, just offering something for free to show that you know what you're doing, you're an expert, you're confident in your work. And then obviously, if you're willing to give away something for free, that's just going to give you a massive advantage compared to 99% of people out there who have too much of an ego or just don't want to give away something for free. If you can give away something for free, then 99% of the times you are going to beat everyone else who is not giving away something for free. But the important thing to mention here is that make sure your free lead magnet is always customized, it's always personal. Don't give away a 24-page PDF about the best marketing practices in 2025. Just make sure that it's always personal. A custom strategy, a custom script, a redesign of your actual website. Make sure it's actually valuable. And then I guarantee, once again, you're just going to get more responses. Step number 25, always end with a question. Never end your cold email by saying, let me know how this sounds, or just let me know if this works. Always say, would you be interested in a quick call? Can I send over a quick Loom video explaining further? Can I send over a redesigned version of your website? Can I send over a free YouTube script for you? Always end with a question. Just give people a clear next step and just make it as easy as possible for the prospect to respond. So for example, if you just say, let me know if you're interested, the prospect doesn't really know what to say. Whereas if you say, would you be interested in a call? Would you be interested in receiving XYZ specific free resource They know exactly what they're signing up for. They know what to respond. So always end with a question. Step number 26 is add spin tags to your scripts, and also add spin tags to your subject line and also to your signature. So at the time of recording this video in 2025, actually at the end of 2025, adding spin tags to your scripts is one of the most important things you can do if you want to be covered from a deliverability perspective. And the reason why we add spin tags is just to minimize the chances for pattern recognition. So we're trying to create different variations of the same script using different words and different phrases. And I actually have a whole video going over how to add spin tags to your scripts. So if you want to go and watch that, I have another video that goes into this in detail. But right now, what I'm going to say is add spin tags to your scripts and always add it to your subject line as well, and add it to your signature too. That's where most people forget to add spin tags, and it makes a big difference. Step number 27 is remove spam words from your scripts. This is super important, and it goes hand in hand with spin tags. These are two things that you can do to your scripts. You add spin tags to your scripts, and once you add the spin tags, you then remove spam words. These are two really important things. Most people that send cold emails, they overlook these best practices, and these are significantly going to improve your deliverability, because if you're including words like free, guarantee, or just anything else that makes it look like a marketing or a promotional email, then the chances of you getting flagged as spam is going to be much higher. So make sure that you remove all your spam words from your scripts, and you can use a tool like Email Guard. There's a bunch of different tools that you can use when it comes to removing spam words, and every detector, every sort of spam word detecting tool is going to give you different results. But we've been using emailguard.io. We basically just upload the entire script into EmailGuard. It tells you exactly how many spam words you have, what spam words you have, and then you can just replace them. It's going to significantly improve your deliverability. Now, step number 28 is respond to leads within 5 minutes. So now we're moving on to inbox management. We've already talked about the infrastructure, about targeting and lead lists. We've talked about your scripts. Now we're moving into inbox management. When you get a response from a prospect, the longer it takes for you to respond to that prospect, then the lower the chances are of you getting a response. So for example, if you send an email to a prospect pitching a call and you say, would you be interested in hopping on a call to discuss this further? The prospect responds to you, but then you take 3 days or like 5 days to respond to the prospect, you're most likely not going to get a response. Always keep in mind when you're sending cold emails, you're reaching out to strangers, and it doesn't take much for them to ghost you, okay, for them to completely ignore you and just never talk to you again. So when someone responds to you, that second that they respond to you, they are the warmest or the hottest that they're ever going to be. And every second and every minute that passes, they're getting colder and colder and colder. When they get colder, the chances of you getting a response and converting those prospects into a meeting booked significantly decreases. So when you get a response, always make sure you respond back within 5 minutes. Step number 29 is get better at objection handling. So once again, we're talking about inbox management here. When you get a positive response, your main aim now is to convert that positive response into a meeting booked. And whether you're pitching a call, whether a prospect just asks for more information, whether you're giving away a free lead magnet, at the end of the day, the main aim here is to get the prospect on a call. And a lot of the times, if you pitch a call, for example, and you say, would you be interested in a call to discuss this further? The prospect might not respond saying, yes, let's hop on a call. It's more likely that they're going to respond with some sort of an objection. So they might say, give me more information first about the services you provide. Or they might say, what's your pricing structure? And the worst possible thing that you can do in this scenario when you get an objection is to try and bypass the objection and just basically pitch for the call again. And this is something that I see so many people do, where because they don't want to reveal their pricing information or their pricing structure before the call, they just respond to the prospect, completely ignoring the objection, and then just pitching the call again. And then all that's going to do is going to frustrate your prospect. So when a prospect asks for more information, what you need to do is always give them the information they're looking for. Now, you can decide how you're going to give the information. You can decide how much of the information you're actually going to reveal, but always make sure that you're giving them what they're asking. Because if you're not giving them what they're asking, they're not going to get on a call with you. So if someone asks for an exact price, then you can tell them that our prices are tailored depending on the project, but we can give you a range. So a ballpark range is that our clients typically pay us anywhere between, let's just say, 5,000 to 10,000 a month. But you don't need to give them the exact amount. And if anything, that might be even good because you might disqualify prospects who wouldn't be willing to pay you what you actually price your services. So by getting better at objection handling, you are going to be able to disqualify prospects who are not a good fit. And you're also going to be able to get prospects who are a good fit on a call because you're actually going to be answering their objections. They're going to appreciate it and they're going to be willing to get on a call with you. Now, step number 30, never send a calendar link, always book prospects manually. So if you pitch a call and you say, would you be willing to hop on a call to discuss this further? And the prospect says yes, then never send your calendar link. Never say, I'm linking my calendar link below. Just book a time that works for you. The best thing you can do at this possible scenario is to suggest times manually. So you can say, sounds great. Thanks for getting back to me. Are you available on Wednesday at 10 a.m., Thursday at 11 a.m., or Friday at 12 p.m. for a quick call? If none of these times work for you, when would be a better time to schedule a meeting? And by doing that, by proposing these times manually, you're going to be booking a lot more meetings because your prospects don't need to think. They don't need to waste time checking their calendar when they're available and then suggesting a time or spending time filling in your Calendly form. In this case, we're just giving them the times. All they need to do is respond by saying 11 a.m. EST works for me. And then you manually book those prospects into your calendar. And I can guarantee that this is going to help you convert a lot more of your positive responses into meetings booked. Step number 31 is warm call interested leads. Not much to say about this. It's pretty self-explanatory. But once you see that you got a positive response from a prospect, the best thing you can do is just warm call those leads. So before you respond to them via email, just call them. A lot of the times they're going to have their number in their signature. If they don't have their number in their signature, you can just go and copy paste their email into Apollo and you can actually get their phone data. Now, if you do find their number, then just call them up and say, hey, I just emailed you about helping you generate more sales appointments and you responded with XYZ. Okay, when would be a good time to just get a call booked in? And this is also going to increase your meetings booked rate. Now, if you do call a prospect and they don't respond, then in that case, just respond to them via email and maybe you can try calling them the next day if they still don't respond to your email. Step number 32 is never stop following up with interested leads. So we already said that you're going to be using a 3-step email sequence, which means that you're going to be sending your initial email and then you have 2 follow-ups. So when it comes to the initial sequence, you have 3 emails. But if someone responds to one of those emails and they say that they're interested, and then you actually pitch the call and you give them 3 different times that you're available for a meeting, but then they ghost you because sometimes that's going to happen. Someone's going to say that I'm interested in talking with you and discussing this further, and you're going to tell them that I'm available on Wednesday, when's a good time to schedule a meeting, but then they're going to ghost you. So what do you do in that case? In that case, you never stop following up with those leads because these leads actually showed interest in what you're offering. So if for whatever reason they don't respond to you and you don't actually manage to get the meeting booked, you're not going to stop following up with them until you actually get a yes or a no. You can start off by following up every 2-3 days. If a week goes by and you still don't get a response, you can follow up every 4 to 5 days. And then if 2 weeks go by and you still don't get a response, you can just follow up once a week until you either get a yes or a no. And you'd be surprised by the amount of times we've managed to get a prospect on a call 4, 5, 6 months after we sent them the initial email. So never stop following up with interested leads. Step number 33 is split test your ICPs, your messaging angles, your offers, just anything you do, you need to split test it. So always test different ICPs, so test different audiences, see how your offer resonates with the marketing industry compared to the accounting industry. So obviously, given that you're actually able to provide your services to a bunch of different industries or to a bunch of different personas, there's no reason why you shouldn't split test and see which persona resonates the most. The same thing with messaging angles. So you could test a longer script with a shorter script. You could test a different structure by starting the email with a relevant touch point to do with their industry or a pain point or with a question. You need to constantly test these different variants to see what works best. And you can also test different offers. So test an increase in revenue against a decrease in cost or saving time. Always link your products and your services and your features, link them to different outcomes and see what leads to the best results. So always make sure that you're split testing. And when you split test, it means that you're gathering data, you can optimize the process, and you can get better results in the long run. Step number 34 is never stop tracking your metrics. And this goes hand in hand with step number 33, because the main reason why we split test is to gather data. And you need to keep track of your data, keep track of your metrics. There should be no point in time where you are not aware of your positive reply rate, your meetings booked rate, your reply rate, your bounce rate. You should know if a campaign is performing well. If it's not performing well, do you have a deliverability problem? Do you have an offer issue? Do you have a script issue, a targeting issue? Do you not have an issue at all? Is the campaign performing well? Now, if you're not aware of how to track your metrics, or if you're looking at your dashboard with all your reply rates and your positive reply rates, and you're looking at the numbers, but you don't actually know what they mean, or you don't know based on those numbers what you need to do, then I have a whole separate video that goes about troubleshooting your cold email campaigns and how to fix any cold email campaign that's not working. So if you want to go into more detail when it comes to tracking your metrics, then just go ahead, watch that video. I explain everything in detail. And when you watch that video, you'll know exactly, based on the numbers you see in front of you, you'll know exactly what to do. Now, step number 35, the last step, and one of the most important steps, is have a good social media presence and website. And I could even put VSL here. Now, most of you watching, if you're even watching at this point, might be thinking, what the hell does a social media presence and a website have to do with my cold email campaigns? So let me answer that question. The first thing that a prospect is going to do when they receive an email from someone is they're going to copy the domain, they're going to paste it into Google, and they're going to see where that domain takes them. So they're going to open up your website. If it's not credible, if it loads up to an error page, if it loads up to your LinkedIn profile because you don't have a website, then the prospect is going to think that you're a scammer. It's going to report your email as spam, and you're not going to get a response. So that's why you need to have a good website. The reason why you need a good social media presence is because the second thing they're going to do is they're going to take your name and they might paste it into LinkedIn, into Twitter, into YouTube, and they're going to see what kind of content or what kind of profile you have on social media. If I receive an email from someone who is not active on Twitter, is not active on LinkedIn, is not active on YouTube, and I can't possibly find a single piece of information about this person on the internet, then I'm most likely going to report that email as spam because I basically just received an email from a ghost who doesn't exist on social media. So if you run a business and you want to send cold emails on behalf of your business to generate leads, make sure that you're leaving no room for a prospect to do research and come across information that could damage the possibility of you getting a response. So make sure you have a good, credible website. Make sure your website always loads up. Just check that your website is not loading up to an error page. Make sure that your website is clear. It has clear copy. And make sure that the offer on your website aligns with what you were pitching in the email script. Because if in the email script you're pitching cold email services and then I load up your website, but it's talking about Google ads, even though it's a good website and it looks credible, if it doesn't align with what you're pitching in the cold email script, it's going to cause some confusion. And the same goes with your social media presence. Make sure that your social media account is also in line with what you're talking about in your cold email script. If you're talking about cold email services, make sure that you're posting content on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on YouTube that has to do with the thing that you're pitching in the cold email script, because people are going to do their research, they're going to do their due diligence, and what prospects are looking for is even just one reason not to respond to you. Always keep that in mind. Prospects are looking for one reason, just one thing that's going to turn them off to not respond to your email. So you need to do everything you possibly can to make sure that you don't even give them a single reason not to respond to your emails. So that's that for this video. It turned out to be slightly longer than I expected it to be, but if you did stick around and you're still watching, then congratulations, because you're definitely going to be ahead of 99% of people running cold email campaigns after watching this video. You now know 35 steps to instantly make your cold email campaigns more profitable. Now, if you run a B2B business and you're interested in generating more leads, but you don't want to do anything that I talked about in this video by yourself, and you just want us to come in and build the whole system for you, then just click on the first link in the description to book a call with me. And if you run a B2B business or a cold email agency, but you don't want us to build the system for you and you just want me to personally mentor you and show you how to actually implement these things step by step in a lot more detail that I could possibly explain in this video, then just click on the second link in the description, fill in the application form, and if we're a good fit to work together, I'll reach out. So thank you for watching. Hope you found this video valuable. Don't forget to leave any questions you have about all the steps in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.